Thank you for joining us at ChristianPhotoshops.com. Today we're going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to create this image right here. We're going to create this pretty much from scratch. You'll be learning how to make the sun rays. You'll be learning how to make the 3D object. And the only stock image you will need is just a picture of clouds. So just some boring gray clouds for the background. Everything else will be done completely in Photoshop. This is very simple to make, so let's get started. Alright, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and open a new canvas. Go to File, New. Our dimensions for this photo is going to be 3000 for your width, 3000 for your height, and do the resolution at 300. Click OK. Alright, so we have our blank white background. The first element we want to create is the cross. So the way I do that is make a new layer. Go to your rectangular marquee tool right over here on your left. Just draw a long, tall rectangle, just like that. And we're going to fill it with a gray color. Don't fill it with black, but kind of a dark gray. Okay, so we have the first part of the cross, and now we're going to make the cross beam. So go ahead and duplicate that layer. So now you have two of them. Go to Edit, Transform, Rotate 90 degrees, and there's your cross beam, and then all you got to do is drag it in to the right length and put it about where you think it would belong. So about right there looks good. Go ahead and merge both of these layers. So do Control click on both layers, then right click, go to Merge Layers, and then double click the layer, and we're going to call it Cross. Okay, now we're going to make this cross into a 3D shape. So all you got to do for that is right click your cross layer, go down to New 3D Extrusion, and when you do this, your 3D layer is going to pop up. Your 3D toolbar is going to pop up. And there's our cross. It's already turned into 3D, and what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it. The way you rotate it is this little box down here that's got your X, Y, and Z coordinates. All you do is go down here, use your mouse, and just drag the cross however you want it to be. For this picture, what we're going to do is we're going to pretend we're at the ground looking up at the cross. So I'm going to make the cross kind of like this, like we're looking up at the cross. Okay, and you can see the extrusion. You can see it's really deep, and we don't want it quite that deep, so we'll change that in a second. But let's go and get the perspective right. So we want to be looking up at the cross, so about like that. Then go to over here on your 3D tab, click the cross right here, and on your properties, your extrusion depth starts out very high, and we don't want it that high, so just bring that in, and we're going to make it look more like a realistic cross. So you can bring it in all the way till it's flat. You could make it further out if you wanted to. I think for this, to make it realistic, about 200 to 250 would look fine. Okay, once you have your extrusion the way you want it and you have the perspective the way you want it, we're going to move our light source. The way you do your light source is right up here, this light bulb on your 3D panel. Just click the light bulb, and then this is your infinite light source for here. So all you're going to do is just use your mouse and just rotate your light source to where you want it. I want the light source to be behind the cross. So the front part's going to be dark, the sides are going to be light, and the back part would be bright. You won't see the back part, but you'll see the sides. So we're going to pretend that the sun, which is our light source, is behind the cross, and it's going to be lighting the sides, and then the front of it's going to be dark, obviously. So about like that looks fine. When you have everything the way you want it, go back to your layers panel, right click your cross, and go to Rasterize 3D. Okay, so we have our cross, and you can move it wherever you want it to go. We're going to move it to the right later. You can make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want to do. But we'll just leave it right there for now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our background. Our background, what I'm going to do for the background is use a cloud picture. This is just a normal cloud picture. I went outside right before a storm hit, looked straight up into the sky and just took a picture of the clouds. There's nothing fancy about it. You can go out and take your own cloud pictures. There's cloud pictures online. Just some kind of sky picture for the background. But I think just a boring old clouds work great for this picture. So go ahead and put this clouds behind the cross. And we'll just put it right there on the background. Okay, so we have our clouds in the background. We'll rename that layer to clouds. Okay. Next thing we're going to do right above the clouds layer is we're going to create some light rays. The way we do that, create a new layer, go to your gradient tool right here, and what you can do for your gradient tool, if you've never used gradient tool, what it does is it takes two colors or multiple colors. In this case, it'd be black to white, and then when you draw a line, it goes from black to white, and it does it very smoothly, so you have a lot of gray in the middle. We don't want to do black to white. We want to do a little bit softer colors. So all you do to change your colors, just click on your gradient, go right here, and the first color is black and it goes to white. Well, we want to do, the first color is gray, and we're going to do like a light gray, like a medium gray. So in this case, the number is 656565. So it's gray to white, and we're going to change that white to a light gray. So in this case, it would be 999999. So there's our gray, our medium gray to our light gray. And then when you paint it, it goes from dark gray to light gray on your screen. So once you have it like that, go to Filter, Distort, and then Wave. And what Wave does is it's going to take the gray, the dark gray and the light gray, and it's going to make it into waves or lines. And you can change your settings to make big lines, or you can make really small lines. For this picture right here, this is the settings I have. You can play with it how you want to, but this is the settings I have. 750 for the number of generators. Then your wavelength, we could do it about 250 for your minimum and maybe about 300 for your maximum. And then your amplitude, about 800 and 800 would be fine. Make sure your type is on sine, and then do repeat edge pixels. Once you have those settings, or whatever settings you want to, click OK. And you see what happens is it turns your gradient into just a bunch of random lines going everywhere. And you could set it where all the lines are the equal width, but I think it's good to have kind of random lines going. Once you have this, we're going to turn this into rays. So all you got to do, go to Filter, Distort, Polar Coordinates, and then make sure your rectangular to polar is selected and click OK. And there you go. You have this kind of sunburst picture with a random lights going everywhere. And if you want it, if you don't like that, you can always repeat the process. Make your gradient, go to Filter, Distort, and Wave, and you can play around. You can play around with your numbers here and see what looks different. So we'll change our numbers a little lower. And this way we get smaller lines, and then you go to Distort and Polar Coordinates, and then it gets like that. So the lines are a lot more, a lot smaller here, a lot more even, but they're a lot smaller. And so just whenever you get the lines that you want, and you're happy with it, then you can go ahead and move on to the next step. So we have our cross, we have our sunbeams, and we have our clouds in the background. Next. All right, go to your rays layer. I'll go ahead and rename that to rays. And you have your cross layer, your raised layer, and your cloud layer. So let's go ahead and go to your raised layer, and let's change that blend mode to overlay. And then let's zoom out. And instead of having the sun rays right in the center of the picture, I want it up here, maybe in the top right corner. And so if you leave it like that, the rays don't go to the edge of the picture. So all you got to do is just make the rays a lot bigger. So that way it'll fill the entire screen. So we'll put our center right there, and you can always, rotate the layers, the sun rays however you want to. But I think like that looks fine. Okay, so we have our sun rays right in the top right. Click the check mark, and we can zoom back in. You're going to move your cross where it goes right over the center of the sun rays. And so you can move those around however you need to, but put the cross, let's make sure the cross goes off the frame. May have to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so our cross intersects where the center of the rays is. Okay, next thing we're going to do, below your cross layer, make a new layer. We'll call this sun, so we'll just rename it the sun. And we're going to go to your gradient tool, and instead of rectangular gradient, we're going to do radial gradient. So click this button right here, and then go to your foreground to transparent. In this case it's gray, but we want to change that to white. So now what happens when you draw a radial gradient, you get a nice circle. So you can make a small circle or a big circle. And so we're going to go right behind the cross and make a small circle, or a medium-sized circle, right there. So there's without the sun, there's with the sun. Okay. Make a new layer right above that one, and we're going to call this one darkness. Okay. And we're going to use the radial gradient again, but we're going to change our color to black. And so now if you draw a circle, if you draw a radial gradient with this setting, it'll draw a black circle. But we don't want a black circle. We want to make a vignette effect. So all you have to do right for that is go to reverse on your settings up here. And now when you draw a circle, it inverts it. So the outside is dark and the inside is transparent. So what we're going to do is draw a large circle where the sun's at. And now it's black. It's black on the edges of it, and it's transparent where we drew the circle at. Alright, change your blend mode to multiply, and change your opacity down to about 20%. Duplicate that, and then change your blend mode to overlay, and go up to, we'll do about 80%. Alright, that looks good. Okay. One thing I've noticed that our sun rays are very, there's a lot of contrast with their sun rays. It's almost too harsh, the black and the white. One way to fix that, on your rays layer, go down here and make an adjustment layer. We'll do our levels adjustment, and then clip it to your rays layer. So just Control Alt G. And what we're going to do is we're going to change our levels. The blacks are too black and the lights are too light. So all you got to do for that is on your levels adjustment down here, bring your blacks in, bring your whites in. Bring your blacks in and your whites in. And that makes it a little bit less harsh. So this is before and after. That way it makes them a little bit more faint. So it's not, the contrast isn't too hard. Okay, that looks good. Alright, next thing we're going to do, go to the very top, create a new layer. We're going to call this lens flare. Okay, fill this layer to complete black. Make sure it's solid black. Then go to your blend mode and change it to screen. Now go to filter, render, lens flare, and then there's 4 different options for your lens flare. I like the 105mm prime. So use that lens flare and try to put the lens flare about where the sunburst is, which is about right there on the top right. Click OK, and there the sun rays come right there behind the cross. If you need to move it, all you have to do is just drag it around. But I think right about there should be good. Alright, next thing we want to do, go to your cross layer, make a layer right above it, and we'll call this, just call it light on cross, and clip it to your cross layer. So make sure it's right above cross and do Control Alt G. And what we're going to do is we're going to paint, just use your paintbrush and change it to white, and we'll get rid of the lens flare here. And all we're going to do is just paint a little bit of white on the cross, because this is where the sun is coming through. I don't want it that bright, but just something like that, just so you can see where the cross is, the light is coming through. And then turn your lens flare back on. Okay, that looks good. Alright, on top of all the layers, go ahead and create a adjustment layer down here. We'll do the color balance layer, adjustment layer, and this will have you give the ability to change the colors on the picture. So what we're going to do is on our shadows, we're going to change a little bit more to cyan and a little bit more to blue. You can change the colors however much you want to. In this situation, I'm doing just -10 on cyan, +10 on blue. Go to your midtones, do about the same thing. Just take away a little bit there on cyan, add a little bit on the blue. Okay, so here's before and after with the color balance. Just change it to a nice blue tone. On top of that, create a new adjustment layer, and it's going to be gradient map. And what gradient map does is it changes all of your colors on a gradient scale. So your darkest color will be for your shadows, your lightest color will be for your highlights. So if you did, for example, this one, purple to orange, all of your shadows are going to be purple, all your highlights are going to be orange, and your midtones will be right in between them. So that's how it looks. What the colors we're going to do for this one is a blue to a blue. So in this case, it's just kind of a dark blue. The number I've got is 045698, and then we'll do like a light blue. My number is 9BD7E8, but you can use any two blues that you want to. Click OK, and then instead of the normal blend mode, go to overlay, and you can see how if you turn it off and on, you can see how it amplifies all the blue colors. And the final thing we'll do is remember that sunburst we made earlier when you play with the different numbers, and we have smaller lines here. What you can do is bring that to the very top, and what we'll do is we'll change it. Let's change it to overlay, and then bring it right over top of your sun. So right there where the lens flare is, just bring it right over there and do overlay. Click check mark. Now the lines are not going to make sense when you do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a layer mask. So just click this little box down here for a layer mask and then invert it so that gets rid of it. Changes it all to black. And then what we're going to do is get a white brush. Change your flow down a little bit. And all we're going to do is paint with white just a few lines here. Just like that. So don't paint the entire thing, just a little bit where the sun layer is at. Okay, and that's pretty much how you create this picture. There's a lot of other possibilities you could do if you wanted to change the colors. You could, on top of everything, you could create a gradient map. again, and then for example, you could change it to this color, a purple to a yellowish orange color, and then you could just, instead of a normal blend mode, you could change it to like color, and then that way it'll change all your colors appropriately to the purple and yellow. So you could do the blue, or you could do this color, or you could do all types of other colors, and just play around with it till you like the color mode you're on. But I like the blue, so we'll leave it at the blue. Um, so pretty simple tool to make. All you need, it really is the cloud picture. If you don't have a cloud picture, so this is what happens instead of a cloud picture. Let's just say we had a gray background. It would look like that if you didn't have clouds. But I think the clouds add a lot to the picture. So just go out and take a picture of clouds, or find a picture of clouds on the internet and just add that in there. Or if not, you can always just have a blank background. But I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions about this tutorial or any of our other tutorials or images, just contact us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you have a great day. Thanks. Thank you for joining us at ChristianPhotoshops.com. Today we're going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to create this image right here. We're going to create this pretty much from scratch. You'll be learning how to make the sun ray